Actually, you can rewrite your story at any age, in any way, on your terms. Kelly Ramsdell would know. Her career path defies expectations. Music major to inventory management to corporate law to published author to entrepreneur. And I'm sure I forgot some things along the way. But you know what the common thread was? A refusal to accept limits. After a major health shift forced her to slow down a bit, Kelly built a new life, one that prioritized purpose, creativity, and self-care. Now, through all of her coaching and the business that she's building, which is called Actually I Can, which is how we found each other, she helps others break out of self-imposed boxes, trust their intuition, and take bold steps towards what's next. So if you've ever felt stuck, this conversation will remind you the path forward is yours to create. I'm Lindsay, and this is Actually I Can. Hi, Kelly.
Well, hi, Lindsay. How are you?
I'm fantastic. And this is an extra special conversation because both you and I are doing things around Actually I Can. And I came across you as I was, doing the things that we do when we start a show and looking at sites that existed and, who was already doing things here. And I chose the path. In my past, when I did something that was similar to other people, they were sure to let me know about it and that they were already doing it. And I was like, you know what? What if we just all make friends and say, hey, we both have this belief of something along the lines of Actually I Can. And what if we take this positive energy that we both got and combine them into something really special? And so I reached out to you and said, hey, what if we did this thing? And you said, actually, we can. And here we are. So Kelly, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's like Wonder Twins unite,
It is. And I think that we have superpowers and I like your hair. If anybody's listening and not watching, Kelly has partially blue, this very lovely indigo hair. And I'm a big fan. I'm a very big fan.
Well, when I decided that I was going to stop coloring my hair, this is the funny part. I stopped coloring my natural hair and went gray.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, oh, but actually I can have it be fun colors underneath. So it turns out the stuff that you're seeing that is bluish and purple is actually still pretty dark. And we have to bleach it out to put the color over top. But yeah, actually I can, I'm like, well, I was in my late 50s when I first started doing this. And I was like, there's no reason that I can't have one hair color.
I like it very much. I like it
too. And it's interesting. Sometimes people will say, oh, I really like your hair. And I'll say, thanks, it's natural.
It just started growing out that way.
It's my natural hair color.
Yeah. So, okay, Kelly, tell me a little bit about when we jumped on, we just met and you were telling me about this history that you have that got you to where you are now. So can you kind of repeat that now that we're recording and tell me a little bit about your story of what got you here to your Actually I Can moment?
My Actually I Can moment came after a lot of twists and turns. After college, I had a couple of jobs. I spent 5 years working in retail management and then in inventory control management for a steel company. And then I went to law school and made a hard turn there.
Yeah, as one does. Inventory management to law. I think that's
right.
Very
well, and
people do.
And I was a music major with an English minor undergrad. So it was a very clear career path.
Right.
As it turns out, though, for anybody who cares, if you or one of your children wants to go to law school, you are better off if they are a music major or an English minor or any of those other things than just straight up pre-law because they look for a variety of backgrounds. Anyway, weird but true. So I was a commercial litigator for a number of years, and it's long work hours. I was part of corporate America because all of my clients were businesses. And so it was all fighting lawsuits over various and sundry things. But it's 60-hour work week or more. And so I don't know whether it was that or whether it was some other things, but eventually I ended up with rheumatoid arthritis, which meant that I really I cannot still. I can't work
Actually, you can't.
Actually, I cannot work a 16-hour work week. And so one of the blessings of the whole thing was that the law firm that I worked for had a very good disability policy. And they're like, well, if you cannot do your job, not any job, your job, you're disabled. And so I did have a little cushion, I guess. But as I went out and I started honing my own writing skills. At that time, I had 2 small children. They're now adults, because it's like 23 years ago. And I started writing poetry for children and adults, and also picture books, only one of which ever got published. But the fact that one got published is actually...
I was just going to say, only one of which, I mean,
only one of
which,
that. And it was on the wall, the picture book wall, displayed at Barnes and Noble. So it was like kind of a big deal.
That's amazing. Especially when you have little kids. You could take them there and be like, Mom is kind of awesome.
Mommy's book is right there on the wall. Yeah. Exactly. Except that, of course, I was still in corporate mode. So I was just like, oh yeah, it's on the wall. Next. So interesting. I started to learn interesting life lessons along the way. And I spent time, like I said, writing. And then to boost my stuff, I was like, what if I explore like visual art? So I took some classes, and I also like just got into it. And I was doing a lot of painting and collaging and all these other things. And then I realized that I could, like, while I was working on all of that, I was working through some of things like childhood trauma. We moved like 14 times between birth and age 12, right? Oh, wow. So, like, there was some stuff. Yeah. I'm like, I'm working on that. And I stopped talking to myself in a bad way. It's amazing how much headspace you can free up when you aren't constantly beating yourself up for being an idiot, right? And also, like, if you walked around telling other people they were an idiot, you would not be very popular. Yeah. And yet we do it to ourselves all the time, right? So,
I'm very aware at how much nicer I am to other people than I am to myself.
Correct. Yeah.
Very aware.
You're like, you would not tolerate that. And you wouldn't tolerate it if somebody else was constantly saying it to you. You would be just like, wait, what? That's like abusive. You're in an abusive relationship with yourself. Is with what yourself. I realized, right? I was. Yeah. I'm not saying you are, but I was.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay. So I started fixing some of those things with different coaching tools and self-help and all this other thing. So almost 6 years ago, I started my business. Actually, I can. Because I was like, well, actually, I can change careers, right? I can learn new skills. Like last year, I took classes in, I call it herbology, but it's really herbalism. There's just that little... It sounds like a Harry Potter class if you're studying herbology.
The dark arts. Yeah.
Right. It's not the dark arts. It's actually just no dark magic.
That's just the first thing that came to mind.
It's just the first thing, right? And it's like sort of kind of up over here. Yeah, you can see like there's some jars up at the top shelf. There's nothing nefarious in there, but there's like one of the jars has a bunch of thyme that I grew out in my garden, which, I mean, fun fact, if you've got like a lot of gunk in your throat, like you can make tea out of just thyme, add some honey to it, and then drink that, and it'll actually clear all that stuff out of your throat.
All these things that, as human beings, like we should know, but we don't.
Well, some human beings know about it, right? And it used to be like the lady who was the herbalist, who then got called a witch, right?
Right.
Which, I have a friend who tells me that I'm a witch, and I'm like, I mean, if you say so.
I mean,
I have witchy tendencies. It's not just the crow things and the jars on the shelf, but like, I have my tarot deck right here, and some oracle cards, and another whole box full of other sets of them sitting there, things like that. And it's interesting to me just because I things that I am doing now are things that I used to make fun of when I was younger.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay. So let's look at what you told us so far. So you were a music major, English minor, which I can relate to that because when I originally started college, I was a graphic design major, music minor, and I was super duper into literature. And the only reason I changed all of that was because the world was like, you're not going to make any money with that. You need to do something in business. So I was like, marketing. So I'm with you there. But anyway, so you music major, English minor, right? That's what you told us. And then you became then you went to like inventory management and then in like metals of all things.
Right.
And then you were like, legal law. So then you went to law school, started practicing law. And then you were like, because you life threw you some challenges. And so, but you embraced like, art again and in a very corporate way. And you wrote a book, many books. You had a book published. You became the cool mom with the kids book. And in my mind,
all right,
your kids didn't think you were very cool. And then now you're like doing all these cool things that you used to make fun of before. So I feel like it's like, actually I can, like all throughout.
That's been, and it was interesting because to prep, not that one can prep for a conversation, but to prep for this conversation, I was thinking, this has actually been how I've been my entire life. And because it goes back to, choices made through high school and like what school was I going to go to and what major was I going to have? Because initially I wanted to be a lawyer and be pre-law. And then I decided I was going to be a music major and teach. And then I got in the class and hated teaching. And I'm like, no. And so I took business courses, including marketing, which I absolutely love. And all of that, it's so funny because every path that you take, of course, means that there's a whole bunch that you don't take, right? But every path that you take, even if it's one that you think, well, this is a really weird detour or dead end, and I went here and it was a mistake, no matter what it is, like, I don't think you win or you lose, you win or you learn, right?
Ooh, I love that.
So everything feeds into everything else. So when I decided that I was going to try to help, initially I was thinking other women like me in midlife, but it turns out that my client base as a coach, they're from like age 30 and up. So that's not what I would really consider midlife. I mean, unless life expectancies have really dwindled and nothing happened. So, but yeah, it's interesting to me because all of those things come in. So like, the writing skills that I learned in law school helped me to be a good researcher and writer. And that continues in the case, right? What do you have to do? You have to write blog posts. I've written 2 ebooks as part of my business. One is on it's like 12 tips to help you sleep better. No, 12 tips to better sleep, whatever. And the other one is like lower your anxiety. And it's based on like research, but it's all like simple things that you can do to help. And they were things that I wrote early on in the pandemonium, because I was just like, my people were all just, like cats clinging to the ceiling with their just barely hanging on with their little claws. And I was just like, okay, let's try to talk you back down off of there. That's not a good place to hang.
and as somebody who has spent most of my life there, I can relate. So it seems that you have pursued, like when there's a fork in the road, you're like, I'm going to go this way. Do you think that it's curiosity? Do you think it's survival? Do you think it's like a desire to like for adventure? Like what do you think has been your like different about you that has led to all of these twists and turns?
It's really interesting, right? Because on the one hand, as I said, we moved 14 times by the time I was 12 and I hated that. So I've always wanted to just like live in one place and not move.
Mm-hmm.
I think because my parents both went along with whatever they were doing and they marched to the beat of my father's drum, basically, I never saw an example of the rigidity of like, well, you said you were going to be, for instance, in my dad's case, you said you were a tools salesman, like literally he was a traveling salesman when I was like a baby, right?
Uh-huh.
And he sold tool parts and stuff like that, saw blades, and I don't even know what, drill bits, all the things. And he decided to go back to college and then become a pastor, right? So
Okay.
I had an example of radical change being
Uh-huh.
embraced. And to the extent that technically I'm the last year of the baby boom, but I'm a Gen Xer by vibe.
The generation no one talks about.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't exist.
Tell no one.
But yeah, so like nobody really cared what I did growing up. And that's not that particular comment. That's not a knock on my parents. I could give you many, but that's not it. Right. So did I want to do basketball? Fine. I did basketball. Did I want to do band and chorus and drama? That's mostly what I did, because it turns out you couldn't be on the sports team and also be a band nerd. And so band nerd. But yeah, so I did all the things that way. And I just think that for me, if I'm walking along the path, I am very much cognizant of the fact that like the path that's meant for you is where you're going to end up one way or the other.
Yes.
So you may end up on it kicking and screaming, or you may end up just choosing it and gliding blithely through life and never realize that there were other options, right? It can, whatever it is, but also many paths are open to all of us. And this is something we were discussing just a little bit before the call started. And that was, you can pick at any time to do something different. Like, I think of us as dangerous because it feels better that way than to think of the opposite, because you can focus on the reverse. So the dangerous position is you could grab your purse and all of your money, get in your car and drive and never look back. Right now, would this traumatize a lot of other people? Would you have regrets? Maybe, but you could do it. Right.
Yeah. You can.
You can. Actually, you could.
Actually, you can. Yeah.
Actually, you can. But maybe you shouldn't, right? But there's a lot of people who don't even realize that that's a possibility. And so for me, the people who don't realize that's a possibility and who are in a place of stuckness, I like to be there to like say, hey, you don't have to stay stuck though. Like, okay, maybe you don't have to abandon your home and family and everything you know, but it doesn't mean that you have to stay small. You don't have to stay stuck. You can make progress. You can make another choice, because any choice, even a small choice, is going to alter your path a little bit.
100%. So, oh my gosh, there's so many different things that came up. I'll start with the last thing first, then I'll go back. But I was just talking, I was putting together a talk that I'm working on, and there's this whole idea of what I'm calling 1 degree decisions. And one of my kids is in flight school. He wants to be a pilot. So that means he's learning a lot about flying planes. I'm learning a lot about flying planes. And he was telling me this whole thing about, okay, imagine a plane takes off in San Francisco, flying to Washington, D.C. It's off by 1 degree, and just 1 degree, just one little degree when it takes off. By the time it gets over LA, it'll be off course by 6 miles. Ultimately, long story short, it will end up landing in Baltimore. 42 miles from its original destination of Washington, D.C. And so,
and I'm surprised it's only 42 miles because,
I know, right?
Because every little increment makes a huge difference.
Yes.
You can flip that around too, right? Which is like, if you are feeling like you're stuck or like you have a goal. I have a client who, became a client of mine in her late 40s. And she said it was too late for her to do what she wanted to do in life. And I said, says who? Right. And we had a coaching session. Long story short, she went and got her master's degree and is now doing counseling, which is what she wanted to do. Right. Mm-hmm. And she's like, and I have so many years left to go and I'm so happy with what I'm doing. And the thing is, each little step, and that's one of the things I focused on with her, is like, if you said right now, wherever you're sitting in Boston, so like, mm-hmm. If you wanted to go to Los Angeles, if you start walking towards Los Angeles, eventually you will get there. If you take a few steps every day, it doesn't matter. Like some days you might get further than others, but if you continue to go, you will get there. Right. And so there's mm-hmm. something about, that people can look at too. But yeah, that 1% thing, you're just like way far off course. Right. Except is there really off course?
Is there really off course? Yeah. And I think too, so I'm a founder and a former VC backed founder, and therefore talk to a lot of founders, and we're told with actual words. There's the sentiment, there's the air quotes, there's investors, there's board members, there's peers that tell you all the time what you can and can't do. Mm-hmm. Well, obviously you can't do that. Well, obviously you need to go raise money. Well, obviously you need to hire more salespeople. Obviously you need to, you have to, you must, you can't, you shouldn't, you won't. And so there's this path that you're on that you don't even remember getting on, because any founder starts with this fire, this vision of like, I believe so much in this thing that I'm going to leave my job, or
I'm gonna go
invest my own money, or I'm going to go do the thing. And before you know it, you look around you and you're like, how did I get on this path of all the can'ts and shouldn'ts and shoulds and all these things?
How did I get stuck in a box?
How did I get stuck in a box? And I don't think to me, my choice was ultimately to leave my startup, to leave this company that I had founded and that I'd been the CEO of for 5 years, after everyone told me that I couldn't, I shouldn't, founders don't do that. And it was one of the most difficult decisions I've ever made, but also one of the best, because it had become something that was full of shoulding all over myself,
right.
and everyone else shoulding all over me. And I don't think that we truly believe that we have the ability to make a change, because one, it's easier to believe that you're in a box, because then it's can't get out of the box.
Well, you founded something to make a difference, right? Mm-hmm. And then because of all the shoulds, you end up building yourself a cage.
Yeah.
Right. And so how clever of you to find the opening and get out of the cage instead of spending the rest of your life there. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
Like, what does that even look like? That's terrible.
It is. And so many of us and people that I work with, and I'm sure people that you work with, believe that that's their only option.
Exactly.
And it's absolutely not. And you have this one life and infinite possibilities within that life. And to believe that you only have this one path forward is really silly, and such a waste.
Yeah. And like, as you say, actually, I can change things, right? I can change things for myself. If I don't like the fact that I'm working with a certain clientele, for instance, right? Mm-hmm. This is not based in reality, because I love my clients. They're awesome people.
But if one bad seed got through,
if there were one, like, you don't have to keep working with them. And even like, it is better for your life for you to be doing the things that light you up, because everything that you do, if you're lit up, right, then you're radiating this energy around yourself. I'm going to go all woo on you right now.
Let's get woo.
You've got this like energetic aura, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
It's an energy field, and it exists whether you believe it or not. But actually, no, you have to believe it, because you're made out of atoms, and if you've taken any chemistry class, you know the electrons are flying around. So you have at least an electrical field around yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that gets bigger and smaller, right? But as you are more energized, it tends to expand, and that bumps up against other people. And that can bump up against them. If you're miserable, you tend to attract other people's schmutz. But if you're feeling great and your energy field's out here, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's bumping up against other people. It's lighting them up. The next thing you know, there's a whole corner of the world that's lit up.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't that a better thing, right? So following what it is that you want to do, and this I think works because I know you work with a lot of business people and marketing people. Like, you want people to feel lit up. So that's the difference between, I guess, hopeful marketing and fear-based marketing, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Okay,
yes.
So fear-based marketing is your life sucks, right?
Yep.
And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, okay, even if that's true, that's how rude.
I know, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, like the come on along with us, we're on a mission. I mean, who doesn't want to do that? Let's go on an adventure.
I have I have another monitor right here, and I have a sticky note on it that says "Be the light in dark places," because I firmly believe that that's literally what we're all here to do, is to be the light in dark places. And when you're in a time, I mean, just humanity, but especially right now, I mean, there's just fear and scarcity everywhere. Yep. And, business is absolutely no exception, where everybody is just operating from a place of pressure and fear and scarcity. And when you're doing that, this holding space for creativity and prioritizing human connection and doing the like, hey, come join us and changing the world. People are so hungry for that, but the powers that be, and I'm talking like even in a small business, if you're, you're in any size level industry, when there's fear and scarcity, there's just no place for that. And so it actually takes a lot of courage to be creative and to be willing to lead from a place of light and joy and positivity and motivation.
I think you have to do, right? Because if you are not in that place, if you're in a place of light and hope and positivity and joy, like you just said, then you're in a position where you can help envision the new world or the new world order or what's next, what's in the future, right? You can cast your vision forward. You can see what that might be, or you can at least get a sense of what it is and start to head that direction. And again, if you head towards it every day, you're going to get there, right?
Yeah.
And so that's being a visionary, right?
Yes. Okay, say that again. That is being
a visionary.
Mm-hmm.
And so you cannot be a visionary from a place of fear, scarcity, lack, anger. Like, it is not possible. You have to embrace all of the other things and be that light in the world that you want to see in order to be the visionary. And so that people might think you're delusional, and guess what? They can.
Yeah, they can. And
other people's opinion is none of my business.
Well, and as a founder, or as a business leader, you have to be a little bit delusional. Like, that's being a visionary, in the very best way.
Because you can see the thing that doesn't exist yet, and other people have to be brought along with you. And some of them are going to have to literally see it in their face before they see it.
And some will say no. And some will say, I don't buy it. I don't believe it. You're crazy. And instead of trying to bring them along, you have to be willing to leave them behind.
Correct.
And I think
100.
Yeah. And that was a lesson that I had to learn of, I'm first time founder, this tech vision, for B2B marketing. And there were so many people that were like, that's never going to be a thing. B2B podcasts are never going to be a thing. And I was trying so hard to pull them along when I should have been like, you're not my people.
Podcasts are the thing. What?
Yeah. And it's just everything that you just said about that's being a visionary is so true and so simple, yet so not easy, simple, not easy, because if you are the visionary, that takes a lot of courage and a lot of self-awareness and a lot of self-love and
and that's the thing, right? It takes a lot of self-love, which I would say goes back to self-care. And I am not talking about getting your hair and nails done.
No,
I am talking about getting enough sleep, hydration, nutrition,
surrounding yourself with good people.
The bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Yes. You better make sure that's nailed.
Which is so opposite from what everybody tells you as a founder you should do. Hustle, grind, don't sleep, get up at 4 a.m. and start grinding and work all the time.
Well, sure. You know what? And the thing is, I'm thinking of Tim Ferriss and his 5-hour work week, right?
Uh-huh.
Which was always some BS. Sorry, Tim Ferriss. But the thing is, he wasn't taking care of his house. He wasn't doing the chores. He wasn't doing the shopping. He wasn't making his meals. He wasn't caring for children. He wasn't caring for aging parents or sick parents. He wasn't doing a lot of things. And 5 hours that he counted, there was a whole lot of prep work for those 5 hours that was he wasn't
it's the recipe that says
it was work. I'm like, sorry, dude, it just doesn't work that way. It's nice.
It's the recipe that says it takes 15 minutes to make, but it's after you've chopped all the things. And
you had a sous chef who just prepped everything for you. You can do it in 15 minutes, but otherwise it's 35 minimum.
Man, 3 hours.
Oh, I've had some like that too. I had one that I made. I'm like, it says it takes an hour and a half, and I'm like, okay, so I'll say it's 2 hours, and it's it took me 3.5 hours to do. And I was just like, I'm sorry that dinner's at 8:00 at night. I just had no idea. It was the first time making it. Right.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So that stuff happens, but it's interesting to me that most of the people who will tell you that you have to hustle and you have to grind and you get up at 4 and go to bed at 5 a.m, make it work. Right. You'll sleep when you're dead and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of them are what I call bro marketers, and they want to sell you a formula that worked for them, and half the time what they're selling you isn't even what they did. So it's
it's follow the money. It's to make them make money.
Yeah,
not to make you
exactly.
Make money.
It's will you pay me if I tell you what to do?
Mm-hmm.
And also if any of your people, if you want to pay me, I will tell you what to do, but that's, that's fine, I guess. Yeah. But there's not one formula that's going to get you there. And why? Going back to talking about paths and roadways and forks in the road, right? You have to travel the one that's meant for you.
Yes.
So I can get on the same path that you're on. You and I are going to still end up at different places. Even if we somehow manage to just jump right together on the same path, right? That 1%, right? I'm going to end up 46 miles away from you, 42 miles away from you, whatever it is.
Yeah. Which ironically, we're both on the East Coast, and it's we wouldn't be in the same place.
Right.
And also, if you look at talking about visionaries, the ones that make it, the brands that become legends, the businesses that transcend, that hit those, that milestones that we all aspire to, didn't get on someone else's path. They didn't follow someone else's playbook. They made their own. That's how this works, is you do a thing that's big and scary and audacious and different.
Correct.
And you have your who and your why at the forefront, and you blaze your own path. And so to think that using someone else's playbook, making someone else's recipe is going to get you the same results, we would all have those results then. It just doesn't,
right.
add up.
Yeah, there was a movie a couple of years ago about Nike, and
yes.
Did you see that one? It was great.
Yeah.
And how the one thing that they did that was very different was to have that contract with Michael Jordan, right? And how that changed them from a small shoe company to this global. Well, it had never been done before, and so there was push.
Right.
So like you watch it and you're just like, okay, it was never done before, but like it turned out that bet was the one that paid off, right?
Yes.
And that's the other thing is like you have to go with your gut a lot of the time. And when you're describing what it was like to be a founder and have all these people telling you, you must, you shouldn't, you can, you can't, right? It's actually like most of the knowing, most of the answers are actually already inside you and you know it. So whether it's you communing with your future self, which is something that you can do through meditation, right? Or whether it's you relying on your intuition or tapping into spirit guides or angels if you believe in them. I used to make fun of it, but but I have reasons. I have evidence and proof in my, you know what I mean? So it's like one of those things where I'm like, okay, well, turns out they have opinions.
I can fight it or I can listen to guides really, that are all around me.
It's your intuition and your inner knowing that matter in the end. And so if you are a visionary trying to forge your own path and you're trying to move forward, you cannot use somebody else's map or compass. You got to use your own. You got to make your own map as you go and use your own compass to make your decisions.
1,000,000,000%. I could not agree more. I couldn't agree more. So, okay. So I want to talk about, like we've talked about so much cool stuff, but for you specifically in your business, actually I can.
Yep.
Tell me how, like who you work with, how you work with them, and like how all of this comes to fruition for those that get the privilege of working with you.
Well, thank you for thinking it's a privilege to work with me. My clients just book with me, and it depends on whether they're booking for a particular program. Like I have one that's like a get stuff done. I'm going to call it that. It's not called that on my website. Yeah. I swear a lot, but I'm trying to be a good girl on your podcast.
I said shoulding all over myself a lot that I think is probably going to be misheard. So,
yes, but you said should, clearly.
I did.
So, so getting things done as like a package. So it would be in something like that. We would have an initial coaching session / meeting where I would figure out like, what do you need help with? Right. And we would come up with some deadlines and or options. And that's because that's somebody who needs accountability, basically. So I'm not just a paid accountability buddy, because it's not just you saying, okay, I did my thing. It's also me saying, what's getting in the way of you doing your thing?
Yeah.
And how can we fix that? While I use a lot of coaching skills, I also use a lot of what I would call consulting, because a standard typical coaching would be like me asking you questions until you figure out the answer for yourself.
Which sometimes is lovely.
Which is lovely.
Is really,
and there are many times that I will do that. And I'll be like, well, what are you thinking of trying? Right.
Yeah. If you knew the answer, what would it be?
Right. Right. Yeah. Like where do you think that might go? What do you think might happen? What have you tried? What are you thinking of doing?
Yeah.
Right. But there are some times when I see a person who's flailing, and I'll just be like, I have a thought. Do you want to know what it is? Right. And then, because you have to ask permission, you can't just barrel over top of people.
Yeah.
But then I will just say, why don't you do X? Right. Or, X is your problem right now, whatever it happens to be. Because people find all kinds of ways to sabotage themselves. And the reason that they do that is because new things are scary.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really your own system trying to keep you in a known area, a known quantity, which
Mm-hmm.
if your known quantity sucks, this is not helpful.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is not helpful. And you definitely want to move out of it. And
you need some pattern disruptors.
So yes. So finding a small step, that small step towards Chicago or wherever you're headed to. And also I do a lot of, speaking of that, a lot of nervous system regulation type things with my clients as well, because I found that for myself, having stuffed all of my emotions into my body, basically.
Mm-hmm.
There's a book by Bessel van der Kolk called "The Body Keeps the Score." And
I'm well aware of that book. Yeah, that's
right?
a good one.
Yeah, everybody's aware of the book, whether they've read it or not, and it tells you in the title exactly what it means, which is like, if you do not let an emotion go through you and you stuff it in there, it's going to manifest in some sort of disorder or disease, right? And so, and I don't mean like a serious disorder necessarily, but it could be an ache.
There will be consequences.
Pain. It could be a headache. It could be fibromyalgia. It could be rheumatoid arthritis. It could be whatever. However, and this is the fun fact, and this part I will share with you, which is when shortly before my parents passed, they both passed in 2023. I had just read this thing, and it was fascinating to me because it said the time it takes for your body to process an emotion is roughly 30 to 90 seconds. And I was like, huh? But I can remember being a kid and having like a crying jag that lasted for a really long time. Well, right, because you're continuing to feed it, but the emotion itself comes in, is recognized, and can pass back out. But a lot of times it comes in and we catch it and shove it down and don't let it go through, right? So it turned out that like most of my crying jags with my parents, they were like 30 to 90 seconds.
Huh.
Yeah. And because if you just allowed it and just be like, oh, I'm going to cry now. Like I would be talking to somebody and I would say, well, I'm going to cry now because I could feel it starting. I'm like, but it's okay. It'll go away in a minute. You know,
I'm very self-aware.
I'm aware that it will just wash through.
Yeah.
And it was very freeing in a lot of ways, because whether it's a positive or a negative emotion, it doesn't linger all that long. And so allowing it to just have its day, whether it's extreme joy or if it's sorrow, it really does help just to let things move along. And so that's another thing that I work on with my clients is on recognizing and allowing that to happen. And also I work a lot on like self-worth / self-judgment, because a lot of us are in an abusive relationship with ourselves where we're constantly, saying, oh, I'm such an idiot that I didn't do whatever. I can't believe how dumb I am. I'm so stupid. Like, no, you're not. You just made you just forgot something. Everybody forgets something. You just made a mistake. Everybody makes a mistake. It wasn't even that big of a deal. Okay. You forgot to yesterday. I threw stuff in the washer in the morning and I heard my husband throw it in the dryer at bedtime. And I was like, oh, I forgot. Right.
Yeah.
I forgot to move the laundry. He noticed that it was there. He moved the laundry.
Which is pretty great.
Okay. Old Kelly would have gone on a big, like, I can't believe I'm so forgetful. And there would have been a lot of name calling in there.
Yeah.
And instead I was just like, oh, I forgot to do that. Thanks, honey, for moving the laundry. Right.
Onward. Yeah.
Onward. Is it a big deal? No, it's not a big deal. Why are you gonna be mean to yourself over that?
Right. Right.
What's your worst case scenario? You got to wash that load again?
Yeah. And I think just, being kinder to ourselves is simple, not easy.
It's simple, not easy. Exactly. It's not
Yeah.
easy at all. And it takes concerted effort and self-awareness to flip it around. And yet it can be done. And I would say that, like, if you do that, you are then able to be in that higher vibration that allows you to be the visionary. It all goes together.
It all goes together.
It all goes together.
I love that. Kelly, thank you so much for being here and for I'm so glad that we met this way and that actually I Can brought us together. And I'm very excited to send more people your way and to continue to learn from you. Thank you so much for being here. And actually we can.
We absolutely can.
Actually we can.
And thank you so much for having me. And please keep in touch.
Yes. Oh, obviously. Yeah. Thanks, Kelly.
All right. Take care.
Thanks for joining me for another episode of Actually, I Can. And did you know that actually you can subscribe so that you never miss an episode? Yeah, do it now. And you can also go to actuallyican.show and watch any episode anytime. Thanks for joining.